Hello everybody. I am in Chicago currently, and oh my gosh, I really overdid it this morning. So I left the Kansas City International Airport this morning at about 8:30 and then made it to Chicago. It was about 10 o'clock by the time we got landed and everything. And then I decided that the first thing I wanted to do was to go to the Art Institute. And I did make it there. However, when I got to the hotel and checked my bags in, I left the hotel and started walking in the wrong direction. And what was supposed to have been a 15-minute walk ended up turning into like an hour walk out in the heat. It was terrible. So then I walked for an hour outside, and then I got to the Art Institute eventually. Ended up in there for 3 hours. So I was walking for like a total of 4 hours and over 20,000 steps. It was insane. I don't usually walk so much in a day. I try to get like 10,000 steps in a day, but I don't usually double that, like, ever. So it was pretty overwhelming for my system. My system kind of went into shock, and I didn't bring my water bottle with me, which was a total disaster. So now I've got this massive headache from being dehydrated, and I am just chilling out here. Oops, had to swap out batteries. Anyway, so I'm here for work, and they were kind enough to send me out here and go to a conference. And it's a records information management sort of conference. It's called the Mayor Conference. It's a good conference to go to if you're in my industry. So anyway, I'm looking forward to actually attending the conference and hopefully learning something new. But I had to go take some, I actually took some Excedrin migraine, which is something I don't normally take. I usually take an ibuprofen or Advil. That's just a personal preference, but the Excedrin migraine was the only thing they had here at the hotel, so I went with that. And I think it's kind of working. At least I don't feel as, much pressure in my head, and I don't feel as bad. I still feel kind of hot, though. So I think I need to go get some ice from the vending machine and put some ice on my head, and I think that will help out a lot. And mostly, I just want to try and sleep and get rid of this headache so I feel much better tomorrow. I should be just fine in the morning. Books though. I am glad that I picked up Sirens and Muses. Antonio Angress, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I picked that book to read on the flight because I could get it right away from my library, so I went ahead and did that. I couldn't bring, and I wanted to bring it so bad. I wanted to bring War and Peace with me, but I have the audio, the book on the audiobook version, and so I can listen to that if I'm feeling like listening to that. But I've been really enjoying reading that text, actually. It feels like I'm enjoying the book, savoring the book more if I'm actually reading the text. But Sirens and Muses is really good, and I'm glad I chose it because I visited the museum and I was looking at paintings and stuff. And the book focuses on two girls that are in art school, and not just two girls. There's a couple guys also that are in this art school as well. One is a teacher, one is a student. Both of the girls are students. They talk about art. They talk about painting. They talk about drawing. They talk about all kinds of things having to do with art, philosophy around art. They don't talk about it in a very elitist, educated way. It's pretty elementary, if you ask me, the way that they talk about art. It's skimming the surface. It's not really very deep. They don't get into a lot of conceptual stuff. I think it could be if someone had written this that had actually been in art school and maybe had been an artist like these kids are. I say kids, but these students are in in art school in this book. So that is my only criticism about it, because I went to art school. She's just really skimming the surface about what you learn when you go to art school. So that's my, like I said, my only criticism of it. But otherwise, it's a pretty good book. It's keeping me interested. It's keeping me entertained. And I am going to finish it because I want to find out what happens in the end. And the girls are just trying to explore what they want to do. One of the girls is exploring, and then the other girl is kind of got just issues, parental issues, and she's working her way through those things. And same with one of the male characters. He's also got some parental issues. Um, so yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. And then one of the other characters is a male teacher. He's kind of dealing with what do you do when you're in the art scene, and you know how do you get along with politics and your art, and how do you keep moving forward and not become stale. That's sort of what he's dealing with. So kind of interesting in that plot point. But I just don't think the school aspects of it, it's just very, it doesn't feel like real art school to me. It feels like elementary art school in a way. Because I don't think my art school was particularly difficult, but we did assignments that were well beyond what Antonia Angress is talking about in her book. So anyway, I think that's it for right now. I think that's it for my check-in, and I will show some clips from pictures from the museum of, just some really cool art that I saw, and then a couple of clips of me walking around Chicago a bit. And then I'll probably check back with you guys before I leave, maybe, or when I get back to my home. So anyway, ciao for now. Bye. Hello, lovely people. I am back. I made it back to Kansas City, no problem. I had a lovely time in Chicago, Illinois, and it was very, very nice. The weather was picture perfect. The breeze coming in off of the lakes was very cooling and very calming, and actually smelled really good, very refreshing in a way. And the heat of the day was really mitigated by that. I mean, it was a hot couple of days there. I mean, it was like in the 80s and then in the mid 70s. The first day I was there, it was in the higher 80s, and it was very nice to feel that cool breeze coming off of the water and everything. But it was such a good time. I was there for a total of 4 days, slept there for 3 nights. It was very pleasant. I suggest anybody go there. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I went by myself for, like I said, the conference, and the conference was good, but I did get to visit the Art Institute, and sorry, my kids are crying in the background. I did get to visit the Art Institute, and then I also got to visit the Field Museum while I was up there. I really wish I had a bit more time when I was at the Field Museum. I was really only there for like 3 hours, which is not enough time to see everything at the Field Museum. But what I did see there was really cool, and there were a lot of interesting exhibitions going on. They had a whole gem area that was really cool. The very first thing I went to in that museum was the First Kings, I think it was called, the First Kings of Europe. And it was all about like Middle Eastern and Germanic, I think. I think it was mostly like a Germanic sort of area, Slovakian, Hungarian, Germanic sort of areas. And the gold that was there, and things that people used to bury with their dead, and just kind of how over time these farming communities eventually became these kingdoms, and how royalty sort of began. And it had all of these really cool like funeral rites and wealth, how they showed their wealth to other people in their communities, and just interesting little facts. There was some very interesting stuff about how when someone would die, they would like ritualistically break objects that belonged to that deceased person. So like if they had, let's say, like a gold circlet or a gold piece of jewelry, or I think one of them was like a shoulder greave or some kind of a greave of some kind. They had basically broken this thing that was made out of gold and bronze and torn it up and then buried it with the dead, just as a symbol of, you know, this person has deceased and this thing is no longer, you know, that was part of them is no longer going to be used, you know, because they're gone. So it's really, really interesting, really cool stuff. They had a lot of a big jewelry exhibit there. That was really cool. I love jewelry. I love gemstones. I think that they're just awesome. Lots of gold and things like that. And then they had an entire Egyptian exhibit as well. They had, it wasn't a replica, but they had some of the actual pieces of this tomb that this person was buried in. I don't remember their name off the top of my head. And it said something like, this is the, you know, tomb of so-and-so, and this is how it would have looked back in the day. And you could walk through, and they had, you know, pieces of the wall and the hieroglyphs that were carved into the walls, the depictions of Egyptian life. And some of them were still, you know, painted, which is really cool to me because I don't think I have really seen anything like that that has still had the paint on it, which is just really fascinating to me. I mean, it was really worn down, but you could see where it was painted. And so really interesting stuff. And then a lot of Egyptian things, a lot of sarcophagi and a lot of mummies actually at the Field Museum. So if you get a chance to go and you're really interested in Egypt, definitely check out the Field Museum. They have an outstanding exhibit on Egyptians and Egyptian life and their burial practices as well. Really cool stuff. So I think what we're going to do is just plan on taking the children at some point very soon. I had such a good time there that I would really love to take my family and to have a family vacation in Chicago. Very safe. I never felt... and I don't get this really. A lot of people, when I told them, hey, I'm going to be going to Chicago for a couple of days, blah, 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 every single person was like, be careful. Don't go into the bad neighborhoods. Be really careful. And I mean, honestly, I was only in, downtown Chicago. And I also was driven from Midway into downtown Chicago. I had no problems. I had no problems at all. And that was Midway is like just to the west of downtown Chicago. Like, if it's a good day and there's good traffic, it like takes 15 minutes by car, which is really not very long at all. I guess the south side of Chicago is not a great place to go, but I didn't go pretty much anywhere close to that. But anyway, my experience, I had a good time. It wasn't super crowded. The flow of traffic was just fine. It wasn't like New York. It was not like New York at all. New York was way more crowded. And I didn't like the constant noise in New York. Chicago was not as noisy, which I found surprising because I was for sure that I was going to be like, oh no, this is going to be super noisy again. And I'm going to get headaches constantly because that's what happened in New York the last time I was there. And that didn't really happen this time. I did take some loop earplugs. I've gotten the ones that are the most noise canceling that you can get. And I wore them on the plane, and that was super helpful to have those on the plane. Oh my gosh. But I did wear them just like a little bit outside. Not very much at all, though. Like, I had them in for like 5 minutes, and I decided it really wasn't that bad. And so I went ahead and took them out and walked around. I was totally fine. So the noise level was nothing. It was totally fine. Let me think, what else do I have to say about Chicago? It was just it was a great time, and I cannot wait to go back there. I think that is a city I could live in if I had to live in a city. I don't think I could live in New York, that's for sure. But it was a very fun time. Very good conference too, by the way. Reading while I was... Wow, my kids are running around outside. That's hilarious. My son has a car, and I don't know how it works exactly, but you run it across the floor and the gears like spin up the motor or whatever is in there, the springs, and then it just shoo across the floor. Well, he's running that thing brutally around the house and spinning it up really, really fast, and he's running up and down the hallway right now, and it's awesome. Anyway, books.
Hey, that bad.
Sorry, my children are driving me nuts. Books. So books. While I was on the plane, I had started up Sirens and Muses before leaving for Chicago. So I kept reading that one for a little bit on the plane ride in. And it's still a good book. I'm probably not going to give it a super high rating. It's at a 4 right now for me. It might end up going lower if it continues on the course that it's going. It was interesting at first. I'm like 45% through it right now, and it's starting to get kind of stale and kind of boring for me. I'm hoping it'll pick up a little bit because I don't know where it's going at this point, or what the point. What is the point at this point? We don't really know. So it's getting a little bit stale for me. So I was sitting around in the hotel room one evening just going, I don't really want to read Sirens and Muses more. What else am I interested in? So then I thought, okay, maybe I want something that's really light, maybe a little bit fantasy, just maybe something really easy to read. So then I picked up The House Witch. And it's okay. It's really not written very well, though. The pacing is a little bit slow at the beginning, and I'm really only not very far into it yet. I'm like less than 10% into it, but I can already tell it's not great. And it's okay. I'll probably still read it, but if I get annoyed with it like much more than I already am, then I'm not going to finish it at all. It's a cute concept. It's a totally cute concept, and I love the cover for it. I think the cover is just the cutest freaking thing in the world. I'll put it up here. And who doesn't want something cozy to read? And I was really hoping this would be really fun, but it's just kind of at this point. I mean, it might pick up. So I'm hoping it'll pick up a little bit. I don't know, I'll probably give it a little bit more time, but if I'm still not jiving with it, then maybe I'll just, DNF it for the moment. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, though. I decided, since I got a digital copy of it through my library, I was like, hey, let's start Rebecca, because I've only got a limited time on this thing anyway, and let's try it out. I have the print book at home, but, I'd like to have this for, my Kindle as well, and totally read it. I was not able to bring really any print books on this trip because my bags were already so super stuffed with cameras and laptops. And I had my one laptop, of course, for work, but I had my little Sony, which I love. It's so cool. It did a wonderful job while we were there. And I just had too much stuff for work also in my bag. So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to bring the Kindle and rely on the Kindle and my phone to listen to stuff too. So reading Daphne du Maurier's Rebecca, oh my gosh, I cannot believe how good this is so far. How far along am I? I'm like almost 25% through now. And the first chapter, I was just like, oh no, this is going to be so boring. The second I open my mouth, they're going to be at the door again. This is what happens. This is why I have a lock on my door. This is why I have a lock in my door, for privacy. And not Edith Wharton. What was her name? What's her name? I just read the woman. Virginia Woolf was 100% right. This is why you have a lock on the door. I give it all up to Virginia Woolf now. You're 100% right, Virginia. I'm on it with you. We are of the same mind now. We have to do that so that we can actually be creative, because there's no creativity without some privacy. Oh, God. Okay, I think they're done now. So Rebecca's great. I'm enjoying Rebecca so much. I thought the first chapter was going to be so dull and boring, and it was kind of dull and boring at the beginning because she's dreaming about the estate called Manderley, and her dream is a nightmare. It's dark, it's depressing, it's winding, like the foliage around her and the road to Manderley is just snaking along in this dark path, and it seems like everything is overgrown and taking over the estate that is Manderley. And there was a ton of description in there of the flora, just tons and tons of it. And I was really worried that this is what was going to be the most of this book, is just the descriptions of the setting, because that was the whole first chapter, and how it's this dark, dreary place, and it was in her nightmare. But after you get through the first chapter, then it's really a lot less of that stuff, and it's fabulous. It's such a good book so far, and I'm really enjoying the pace now. I'm really enjoying everything that's going on in it. The romance I'm actually really enjoying between the main character and what was her name? You know, the main character is nameless. I didn't notice that until now. But anyway, she gets involved with the owner of Manderley, who is named De Winter, Maxim De Winter. And I guess it's like an English country house estate sort of thing, but it's on the edge. Like, it has a forest, and then there's this nice green lawn and everything, and then there's a beach. And Max De Winter's wife had passed away a year prior to our main character meeting him in Monte Carlo. That's where it all begins, and I do like the description of the vacation place, I guess, the English vacation place in Monte Carlo. It's really interesting. Lots of tea, lots of books, lots of painting, you know, all of the good things that I enjoy personally, me being, you know, as basic white girl as possible. It's just me. And yeah, it's a really good book so far. And I am going to finish that one up as quickly as possible because it is so good. Another thing that I decided to listen to while I had some spare time, while I had some spare time during the conference and in the afternoons when I didn't have much going on other than, you know, meet and greet dinners and that kind of thing, was War and Peace. I was listening to it on my phone. And I am way further now than I was. I am at that 50% mark now, where I, you know, was like way behind where I was supposed to have been, really. I mean, I don't know what it was. I think it was because I had tests and stuff going on and I couldn't really fully give my attention to War and Peace like I wanted to, so I just kind of sat it down. But now I've picked it back up again and I am slowly but surely making my way through it, and I'm enjoying it so far. I am now in the book 9, which is starting off with kind of this explanation of how the war between France and Russia really starts to escalate, and there is the actual war where the basically first 8 books, I'm sorry, not chapters, 8 books, are most, there is some battle, like the first 3 books, I want to say, there's war going on between Russia and France at that point, and basically defending territory, defining what, you know, defining the conflict itself. And then they come to this peace part where the 2 emperors, Alexander and then Napoleon, have decided that they're not going to be fighting anymore, and they're, you know, coming to a peace agreement. But it doesn't take long then until, you know, where we are in the 9th book now, that full-out war has been declared. And the reasons for full-out war by Tolstoy are many. And he basically has an essay in chapter 1, book 9. And it's kind of interesting, all the various reasons why the war had started. So it's very good so far. I finally, let's see, am I in chapter 3 of book 9 now, I think? So we've gotten back to the actual characters of the story now, after Tolstoy's explanation of the war beginning itself. So anyway, so that's where I am right now with that, and it's really good. So Rebecca and War and Peace are super good books right now, and I suggest anybody pick those up and read them. But I think that's all for the moment. I hope you guys enjoy my visit to Chicago, and all of the filming I've done for that. Hopefully it comes out well here. Thank you all so very much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment. I'd love to hear what you guys are reading. I'd love to hear anything you have to say, really. I'm trying to grow this community, and I am trying to just grow my channel, basically, and I would love to hear from all of you. So until then, please subscribe, please like the video, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you. Bye-bye.